Children from hard places need felt safety. They need to feel safe. So even when we know that we have met their needs, sometimes they don't have that felt safety. We get felt safety, or children get felt safety, when needs are met and when there is connection. Those two things are imperative in order to reach a child from a hard place. Now, the question I often hear is, my child is screaming and cussing at me, and you want me to connect? How in the world do I do that? And it is tricky. It is not an easy thing. We are going for correction and connection at the same time. That is a very difficult thing when you have an angry teenager in front of you. So let's talk about some strategies that allow us to correct and connect, both at the same time. The first thing, and probably the most important thing, is soft eyes and soft voice. When a child is screaming at you, the temptation is to scream back or to at least get very firm. Get back here, mister. And yet, that does not get us what we want. We want to soften our eyes and soften our voice so that we're saying, come to me. Please come. Now, they may not respond immediately, but by having soft eyes and a soft voice, we're creating a safe place for those children to come. We have a staff member who works here who is fabulous at this. And she can stop and lower her voice and soften her eyes. And children just come to her. The biggest, angriest teenage boy will soften and come to her when she just lowers her voice and softens her eyes. And this strategy right here, if we can do this first, it allows lots of other strategies to work. And if we do not have soft eyes and we don't have a soft voice, then lots of our other strategies won't work because we're in fight mode just like the kid is. And when we're in fight mode, that kid is going to fight right back. And we want to settle the fight and de-escalate it. Soft eyes and soft voice allow that to happen. Another strategy that we use so that we can correct and connect is called redos. We ask kids to redo something. We don't want to focus on the bad behavior. We want to focus on the behavior that we want to see. So we ask them to practice the right behavior. An example of this might be when one of the kids who lives with me doesn't like what I have to say to them, and they go off rah, 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 griping about it. And I say, oh, come back, let's try that again. And sometimes they're not real happy about coming back. But we have set a culture here where if a kid comes back and does a redo, then that's all that is required as long as they do the redo well. So an example might be, oh, please come back and try again with respect. And when they come back and say, okay, I'll do what you say, then off they go. And we don't have to focus on punishment or rewards. We just do a redo and then move right on. Another strategy is to use observation or observe behavior rather than ask questions. Children from hard places are very tempted to lie, even when it's not really in their best interest to lie. For some reason, telling that lie helps them feel safe. So they tell the lie rather than telling the truth. So we observe the behavior rather than asking them about the behavior. I see you're standing there with a cookie. I think I asked you not to get a cookie until after supper. I just observed the behavior. I did not criticize it, I didn't complain about it, and I didn't scold. I just observed it. Very often that observation will do just enough to get that cookie put away until after supper. Now sometimes I have to say, how about if you put that cookie away and then you can have it right after supper? Or set it on the table right next to your plate and you may have it right after supper. But we just observe the behavior and then move on, rather than asking questions and setting up a situation where they might lie. We want to connect and correct at the same time. Another strategy is compromise. This strategy is very often one of the hardest for families to implement. So many of us grew up in homes where mom or dad told us to do something and we said, okay, and did it right away, and that's the way it was. We didn't ask for a compromise. And yet for our kids from hard places, in order to feel safe, they need a little bit of control. And what we have to remember is that control is ours to give. If we don't have control, then we can't give it away. So if I ask one of the kids in my home to take out the trash, and they're sitting there reading a book and they say, may I have a compromise? What compromise would you like? And they say, may I read 2 more pages in my book and then I'll take out the trash? And I say, will you absolutely positively only read 2 more pages? Stick your bookmark in there to remind you? And then you will promptly and superbly take out that trash. And they kind of roll their eyes at the goofy adult and they take the trash out. They read those pages and out they go. Once in a while, it takes a gentle reminder, but usually because we've given them a compromise, they stick to it and off they go. Especially if I give them a little memory jog, like put your bookmark there to remind you. I have to be okay with giving that gentle reminder and not turning that into a fight. It's so easy for us as adults to go, you told me that you would take it out after 2 pages and now you've read 15. That definitely does not connect. So even if I forget to give the gentle reminder, I still want to come back and connect and correct at the same time. So I might come back and say, oh, I think we forgot. Could you take the trash out now, please? And usually the child will go, oh, I forgot, sorry, and off they go. And because we have connected at the same time we've given the correction, they're ready and willing to work with us. If we give compromises often, then in those moments where I have to say, no, I'm sorry, I really can't compromise this time, they're much more willing to come along with me and do what I ask right away, because it's so rare that I don't give a compromise. There's no magic here. Each one of these strategies, the soft eyes and soft voice, I still practice every day. Sometimes I do well, sometimes not so well. The redos, we practice every day, all the time. Sometimes kids do redos well and sometimes not as well. We're constantly observing behavior and we're constantly catching ourselves and saying, oh, don't ask the question, just observe. And this compromise piece, well, the kids help us remember that very often. One other example that I'll share with you. My daughter loves equestrian and riding horses. The other day, she was on her horse and she was riding into the arena at a horse show. And she said to her coach, "What am I supposed to do?" And it came off as such a disrespectful comment. Now, she did not feel safe. She was nervous and worried about her performance. And I was standing right next to her coach, and I said, "Oh, try again with respect." And she went, "Can you please tell me what to do?" And what happened is her whole body relaxed. Her seat relaxed in the saddle, her legs relaxed, her hands relaxed with the reins, and she did a much better job because she took that minute to do the redo. It takes practice. This is not easy, not for the grown-ups and not for our children from hard places. But if we give correction and we're connecting at the same time, we have a much greater chance of reaching our kids from hard places. And we have a much better chance of helping them feel safe. So they put away those fear-based behaviors and instead begin to mature and function in our families in much better ways. There's hope, but it takes practice to work on all of these connecting and correcting strategies.